Look, test prop is just better. I mean, I popularized the usage of testosterone propionate, so much so that Empower Pharmacy and some other pharmacies have run out of it. And apparently some of them are discontinuing it, which is obviously ridiculous. But I've turned a lot of people on to the use of test prop, and a lot of folks who are having problems on TRT with long esters are now feeling good and dialed in. And the experience is how it's supposed to be on TRT. People get their sexual function back, man. Their libidos rock and their erections work. They're happy. They don't have mood issues. They sleep well. They feel good. They're anabolic, they're energized. The question really is, like, why is test prop so much better for this subset of individuals? I'd argue a lot more individuals than we think. I see it in consulting all the time, compared to testosterone enanthate and especially testosterone cypionate. If the phrase that is repeated in the forum so much is actually true, that test is test, you know, once you metabolize it, the ester gets cleaved off and you just have raw testosterone, why does testosterone propionate hit people differently, affect them better, enliven the sexual system, and fix all the problems they had on cypionate or enanthate? What I want to do in this video, because I'm so passionate about this topic, because testosterone propionate changed my life, it changed a lot of my clients' life. I use it as a tool religiously in coaching, is break down some of the literature on test prop and explain why it's so effective. Why, for some people, it's just the better ester. And hopefully, because it's music to my ears and makes me feel really fucking good when people are having a hard time on enanthate or cypionate, then they switch to prop and have a greater time. Maybe, again, I can influence more people to try testosterone propionate. Before we start the video, and super quickly, so stick with me, Cortex Labs is a performance optimization and hormone consulting company for men. We've got a range of different products, ranging from the Torque Stack. It's basically Adderall without the side effects. Right now, it's buy one, get one free till the 30th of January. Code is on the screen. It's also down in the description of this video. Source List, our most popular product yet, a compilation of trusted sources for all anabolics, ancillaries, and hormone hacking agents, including DHT, Proviron, and whatever else you need. Get that down below. Lastly, I'm a coach on TRT protocol restructuring and sexual dysfunction resolution. You can hire me for one-off consults or longer one-on-one packages in under a minute at livecortex.com. All right, let's talk about this, because look, test prop gives you a dopaminergic energy-like feel similar to that of a nootropic paired with something like a 7 to 14 milligram nicotine patch, which rapidly and massively turns on cognition. I mean, the effect of test prop, like let's call it a 40 milligram injection in the morning of test prop, versus, let's say you run 100 milligrams of test sip every 3.5 days, or even 40 milligrams of testosterone cypionate per day. The effect on the brain side of things, happiness, mood, like you just kind of feel light and good, no heaviness, no side effects, no pressure. It's just vastly different. I personally love prop because the moment I inject it, I'm like, dude, I'm so much more motivated. I'm happy. My life is just things in my life that otherwise maybe would get me down or I would be indifferent to. I'm just like, I appreciate those things. Implies dopamine, right? Let's take a look at this paper. Testosterone propionate improves motor alterations and dopaminergic damage in the Respirine-induced progressive model of Parkinson's disease. Respirine is a blood pressure medication, but that also induces damages to the dopaminergic system. And what they found is that treating these rats in this case with a milligram per kilogram of body weight reduce the damages on the dopaminergic system caused by this drug. In critical dopaminergic regions, by the way, okay? It prevented dopamine damage in the SNPC, the VTA, the ventral tegmental area, and the striatum. When they upped the dose, here's the case for higher dose prop, test prop at 5 milligrams per kilogram reduced the damages caused by Respirine in the catalepsy and tongue protrusion behaviors, prevented the weight loss, and prevented dopaminergic damage again in the ventral tegmental area. Our results suggest that chronic administration of testosterone propionate has a protective effect in a rat model of Parkinsonism, improving motor alterations and dopamine depletion induced by this blood pressure drop. What people have to remember about sexual function is that a lot of it has to do with neurotransmitters, but the modification of the neurotransmitters is induced by hormonal changes, hormones and their genetic actions. Testosterone propionate, I would argue, is more dopaminergic than other testosterone preparations. Now, whether that is due to how much more closely it is to bioidentical testosterone via it being a shorter acting, fast acting ester, or it's that testosterone propionate really peaks testosterone levels higher, leading to more tyrosine hydroxylase conversion in the brain and thus more dopamine conversion in the brain. Prop might be aiding in the function of the hypothalamic dopamine neurons, which are critical for male sexual function. All of this stuff is up in the air. Suffice to say, it's more dopaminergic. So I think that's reason number one that test prop is so fucking effective for people, is that it really turns on the dopamine neurons and dopamine transmission in a way which other esters can't. Back to some of these studies which I've discussed before on how test prop suppresses luteinizing hormone less than other esters. In some studies, I mean, you show no major change in luteinizing hormone concentrations after the usage of test prop. I mean, that's profound compared to the long-acting esters, which aromatize more and produce more of a hypothalamus pituitary testicular axis shutdown. Short-acting testosterone appears to have lesser effect on male reproductive potential compared to long-acting testosterone in mice. In this study, they actually used test prop. Okay, the short-acting ester in this case was testosterone propionate, and then the long-acting formulation was testosterone pellets, which have a very, very long duration of action. They go on to say that mice treated with the long-acting testosterone, again, these are pellets that sit in the skin and slowly release testosterone over a period of time, long period of time, treated with long-acting testosterone had smaller testes weight when compared to control, while the short-acting testosterone, this is the test prop mice, had similar testes weight when compared to controls. So basically, the long-acting testosterone preparation in this point suppressed the luteinizing hormone more and atrophied the testicles more significantly, whereas testosterone propionate atrophied the testicles so much less that it was basically comparable to controls, to normal, regular gonadal men. But mice in this case. They actually definitively state, so we have something really definitive here, that long-acting testosterone appeared to impair male reproductive capacity and luteinizing hormone levels when compared to short-acting testosterone. Short-acting testosterone appeared to cause less luteinizing hormone suppression. Does this mean that when you're on test prop that you don't get testicular shrinkage? No, it doesn't necessarily mean that. What it means is that likely you will get a lot less testicular shrinkage. I know that in my own anecdotals. I know that in clients that can't deal with HCG, they just take test prop as TRT and they're good. They really don't get much shrinkage. Seminal vesicles and seminal fluid, ejaculate volume stays very, very primed. Sensation stays great, and all that stuff stays great because they're running test prop. The moment they get on testosterone cypionate or anything, they start injecting even frequently, or even less frequently, it doesn't really matter the frequency, atrophied testicles, right? They start having sexual problems if they're not using HCG. This one, boys, I had to really hunt down, okay? This has got to be from like the 1960s. It's just like 1954, I think. It's titled The Effects of Testosterone Propionate on the Testes Seminal Vesicles. All right, these are very important for sexual function and the production of ejaculate volume and seminal fluid, and the prostate of intact and castrate hamsters. It's so old that it's literally like a typed out text from an old typewriter. They go, testosterone propionate has been very effective in the rejuvenation, we'll call it, of accessory and secondary sex organs of castrated animals, as well as in maintaining normal functional and morphological status of these organs. It reported that castrated rats, which by the way, like at that point you're making next to no ejaculate volume and fluid, like, I mean, you have erectile quality in androgen deprivation therapy, which is usually used for prostate cancer, which is a stupid fucking idea, by the way. I mean, these guys lose all sexual function. You know, it takes them years to get it back. If they can even get it back, they got to use PD5 therapy, vacuum erection device therapy to get that back. It doesn't always come back. But in this case, because the seminal vesicle weight was so much reduced in castrated animals, the weight of the seminal vesicles actually increased in response to testosterone propionate. This is something you're probably not going to see via obviously less ejaculate load when you're just running cypionate and no HCG on long esters. This is a very small abstract, which doesn't tell us a whole lot, but it tells us something interesting about the uptake of testosterone propionate. It's called Pharmacokinetic Studies of Testosterone Propionate using gas chromatography, mass spectrometry, selected ion monitoring. They basically say testosterone propionate was readily transferred from the injection site, okay, the depot, into systemic circulation. This implies that it hits the bloodstream, is able to affect androgen receptors and affect gene expression faster than longer esters. Plasma testosterone levels were maintained above the physiological testosterone level for 48 hours. I mean, the half-life of test prop is really 24 hours, but it delivers such a powerful punch that 48 hours later, you still have testosterone above physiologic ranges, meaning you're super physiological. Then they go, while plasma levels of endogenous testosterone changed little. Again, less suppression of luteinizing hormone. This is one of the reasons, another reason that I think testosterone propionate is so effective. I believe that there is some degree of stalling, halting, slow movement, lack of metabolism of long esters when they sit in the depot for so long, that somehow your body's going, there's just a lot of testosterone here. There's a lot we have to do in order to make this bioavailable testosterone for us to use at the androgen receptor level. And though this hasn't been proven, and this is just a theory of mine, I believe some of that testosterone actually just gets metabolized out of the system, or it doesn't get metabolized correctly. Another paper which describes the same phenomenon of more physiologic action of short-acting testosterone versus long-acting testosterone really dives deep into the short-acting nature of certain testosterone. In this case, this was nasal testosterone. This has an even shorter half-life than test prop, but again, the minimal suppression on the HPG axis. Question is there something to your own endogenous luteinizing hormone or lack of suppression of your own endogenous luteinizing hormone that has effects both at the neurological level as well as the tissue level, the sex organ tissue level, that make testosterone propionate better for libido and erections? As I've discussed before, men that have long-term deprivation of androgens, as seen in these cases of people that are using finasteride, other 5-alpha reductase inhibitors, potentially the use of SSRIs does this. People that were long-standing hypogonadal, men with prolactinomas that shut down their LH for considerable periods of time. These people typically don't respond well to testosterone cypionate and testosterone enanthate. They have to dose either of those esters in extremely high doses. I'm talking between the 350 and the 600 milligrams per week range in order to get some degree of resolution, not all, of their sexual dysfunction problems. Whereas if they're dosing, usually the go-to for me is a hybrid protocol of prop and cream. If they're doing fast-acting prop and cream, they get rapid alleviations, if the dose is right, of their sexual dysfunction in, I would call it most cases, not all cases, but most cases. Some of these things, some of these situations, they take 6 months, a year and a half, 2 years to resolve. There's a paper, by the way, that describes that testosterone undecanoate improves erectile quality just consistently year after year over a 12-year period. Okay, so for just as an aside, some people that have PFS, you know, you have a long road to recovery, most likely, in some cases at least. And listen, each year that you're on TRT, things will get better. Here's a really, really interesting one. If I could just change my window capture. Here we go. Enhancement of dopaminergic activity and region-specific activation of NRF2 ARE. These are antioxidant responsive elements by intranasal supplements of testosterone propionate. Okay, so they made an intranasal version of testosterone propionate. What they ended up finding is that it had a much more potential to activate antioxidant pathways. By the way, this was in a dopaminergic region of the brain, the mesodopaminergic system. Again, back to tyrosine hydroxylase. This is an enzyme that converts your tyrosine into dopa, L-dopa, and then the different enzyme converts it to actual dopamine. The exploratory and motor behavioral deficits, as well as the reduced expression of dopamine, tyrosine hydroxylase, and the dopamine transporter, indicated decline activity of the mesodopaminergic system. Those were ameliorated in rats administered with testosterone propionate nasal preparation in just 12 weeks. So if you take what ultimately for me has been many hours and you scour the scientific literature, you actually find in the medical journals, these papers, the reason that testosterone propionate is so effective at turning on happiness and energy and mood. People generally feel fucking better when they switch from cypionate or enanthate to testosterone propionate. There's a cleaner effect. It just feels cleaner. It's just like, here I've got good levels, high levels of clean testosterone. I'm telling you, I think test prop is just a much cleaner preparation of testosterone. I think that the pharmacies that are discontinuing testosterone propionate, which has happened over the last 6 months, are making a grave mistake. They're making a grave mistake. I mean, it's already been the case that a lot of my clients and users or people who come to me have had to get source list just to get test prop because they were dialed in on it and they felt great on it. And then their clinics took it away from them. We got more dopaminergic activity. I've seen in the sexual dysfunction people, not just from PFS or PSSD, but also people that can't get their erections and libido straight on regular testosterone like Propionate or enanthate, that test prop increases the free testosterone so much and obviously modulates these dopamine pathways that they've got good sexual function. And interestingly, the higher they go on test prop, this paradoxical thing happens where if they went super high on enanthate, it would just mute their libido, mute their erections completely. Go super high on testosterone propionate, and to the contrary, all of those things get better. We've got less suppression of luteinizing hormone. I do think this matters. A lot of my experimentation with the use of exogenous chemicals that force actual brain luteinizing hormone release, like Kisspeptin 10, I had really, really powerful, really, really interesting, very normal and very natural libido and erections using those, using Kisspeptin specifically. Kisspeptin could raise prolactin in certain people, so you got to be worried of that. And it's not perfect. You have to be able to kind of slow drip it over the day, and that becomes inconvenient. There is something to less suppression of your own luteinizing hormone that makes the system function better. I mean, obviously, ultimately, if you have gonadotropins that you normally are exposure to, that you suddenly stop having exposure to completely, well, that's probably going to produce both in the brain and in the sexual system some sort of negative outcome. I think all of these studies and all of these notions and positive things that test prop does combined really give us a detailed look into why testosterone propionate revives people's TRT protocols, why it feels so much better compared to long-acting esters like testosterone cypionate and testosterone enanthate. I personally see no reason, after all this research and everything I've seen with coaching, especially, boys, I don't see a need to ever go on a long ester again unless it's going to be a cycle. Generally speaking, though, for TRT, man, as I've been communicating to you guys, like I'm not going back to a long ester. It's either going to be cream prop or cream and prop. Hybrid cream prop protocols are also really, really awesome and really, really effective. So I hope this has been instrumental or influential on people that, haven't made the switch, right? You haven't thought about, or you haven't been able to get, or, your clinic is turning you down, or you're just kind of a little apprehensive to try something new to switch to test prop. Honestly, if you're having problems on long esters, and this isn't everybody, some people tolerate them fine, try test prop. You're going to notice that immediately the feel is different, right? The function's different. Your sexual function is probably going to be massively better. And you're generally going to feel like you have a cleaner administration, right? A cleaner uptake, a cleaner effect. What TRT should be, what you think of in your mind when you think of elevated testosterone levels in a male, all of the positive effects. These are the things that happen when you use testosterone propionate. All right, boys, again, Sourceless, our most popular product, DHT, Proviron, test of all esters, including prop, by the way, because this isn't available at a lot of clinics anymore. Again, foolishly on their part. I think they're making a big mistake, but there are plenty of people making pharmaceutical grade and otherwise high quality testosterone propionate. You can get all that stuff in the source lists at livecortex.com. This is 50% off right now, by the way. Code is SOURCE. It's on the screen and down in the description of this video. Torque Stack. Look, if you want a nootropic that feels like Adderall but doesn't give you side effects, just get Torque. I built this thing myself. It was a stack that I was taking myself. I'm a 16-year at this point nootropic vet. I built the stack. It ships to 40 countries. People get it on auto ship. They love it. It's buy one, get one free right now. The code is on the screen. It's torquebogo. Also down in the description of this video. Listen, if you need to hire me for a TRT protocol restructuring, whether it's to bring in prop and dial it in or dial you in on another ester or fix sexual dysfunction or whatever, there's a lot of specialties that I've acquired over the years. You can hire me for either a one-off consult for a TRT protocol redesign, or if you need longer term help, which in a lot of cases people do, a 3-month, a 6-month, or an ongoing 1-year package. If you've got the budget, you can hire me for any of that stuff in under a minute at livecortex.com. We'll be on the fact-finding call as soon as tomorrow. All right, everybody, it's been an absolute pleasure hanging out with you. Thank you for listening to this message. I'm truly passionate about test prop, and I hope that I've given some people good information to move forward. Like the video. Makes a huge difference, boys. Just take a second. If you appreciated anything that I said or if anything aligned with you, just hit that like button, all right? Sub to the channel if you're new. Plenty more breakdowns like this on anabolics, ancillary, sexual function, everything in between, because ultimately we want to make healthy men here. Testosterone changes people's lives, especially the right protocols. Otherwise, have a great day. Talk to you guys soon. This Saturday, I won't be doing a live stream because I'll be away, but we'll be back to content the following Monday. And I'll talk to you boys on the next one.